How are we already halfway through the AFL season? I have no idea. But I thought it would be a good time now to check out my initial predictions on how that table would stand up to what is actually happening and see how well I'm doing. So here are the two tables. This one is my initial prediction, and this is how it's actually happening. And there are some similarities and some big differences. I'm going to work my way from the bottom to the top. And actually, I've done pretty well at the bottom. I would like to say I've done pretty well. I predicted in 17th and 18th, North and West Coast. And I am bang on. Those two teams, North actually I thought were going to shock us. And they did start playing quite well in the first two games. And then they fell apart like usual. And West Coast have just been awful in general. So those two teams are sitting rock bottom of the ladder, which is what I predicted. I then went for Giants and Hawks sitting in 15th and 16th. And as you can see, Hawks are in 16th. So another pretty much spot on decision from me. However, GWS are currently in 14th. So they're actually one place higher than I predicted at the moment. But as I said, they're one of those teams, I say this all the time, they're one of those teams that can get those surprise results. And they've managed that, and other teams below them clearly haven't. So that's slightly off, but only probably by one place. So I think fairly successful in that side of things. We then move up to 13th and 14th. I did Richmond versus Essendon. Now, for me, I didn't think Richmond would do that well. I know a lot of other AFL YouTubers thought that Richmond, this is their year. They're going to make the top 8. They're going to do well. And I never saw it. I just never saw what they saw. And it's turning out like I am right. And people can blame injuries and whatnot, but every team has injuries. As a Swans fan, you know, I know that pain. So Richmond are in 15th, one place lower than I thought. So I'm happy with that. 13th, 14th, I put them. And Essendon are the team that had an amazing start, and I didn't predict that. Their amazing start is crumbling, and they are going down. And at this rate, at this current stage of the season, for Essendon, I don't necessarily see them making the top 8, even after that incredible start they had. They were up there with Collingwood, for example. They were up at the top for a long time, but they are crumbling. And so actually, I can't see, I think there are better teams below, for example, Geelong, Fremantle and Sydney, that will overtake Essendon, in my opinion. So at the moment, 13th and 14th with Essendon, I'm slightly off, but I'm quietly optimistic that I may be more accurate when the ladder finishes, when the season ends. Then in 11th and 12th, we've got the Gold Coast Suns and St Kilda. And St Kilda, another team that had a really, really good start. And they are still in 5th. They've had a few blips, but they are sort of holding their own. And I don't see St Kilda dropping out of the top 8 like I see Essendon. So I am well out on that one. I am well out on St Kilda. However, Gold Coast are in 12th. So I've got that pretty much spot on. I'm really happy with that prediction. Basically from 11th down, I am pretty spot on. Which I'm really happy about. But I think those teams down there were more predictable to be down there. So the challenge is the teams at the top. Now, I did Crows and Port, and this was in 9th and 10th. And I based this a lot on what happened last year. And yes, Port and Crows were both teams, a little bit like the Giants, where they could really turn up and do some amazing performances. But I wasn't confident. However, Port especially are blowing teams away. They are on incredible form. And I've been so impressed with Port and how they've played. And they're currently sat in 2nd place. Oh my word, and I am backing them, and they're definitely going to make top 8. I've got no problems with that. Adelaide Crows, they're obviously ahead of what I said. They are two, 3 places ahead of what I said. and they're doing better than I predicted. They've just got to hold on. They had a really good win against Brisbane, for example, and they are getting results. So really, I think the Crows should be able to hold on into that 7th spot, into the top 8. And it's really, really going to be a firefight for Fremantle, Sydney and Geelong to try and get in there. But it's still all to play for because the points, there isn't a lot between them. The top 2 and 3, they really have pushed away. But, you know, from 5th to even 12th, it's still all to play for. 5th to 13th even, it's still all to play for to get into the top 8. So I'm very, very impressed with Crows, and I'm very impressed with Port. They're doing very well. Then I did in 8th place, I did Carlton to get in 8th place. I said this, and I will continue to say this, and I'm not afraid to upset anyone. I think Carlton are a boring team, but I still see them as doing enough normally. They're distinctively average. And if you look at the table, what is average? 8th or 9th, that is average, right? So I predicted them just to squeeze in. They just squeezing in. They missed out by a fraction on the last day of the season last year. However, they haven't had a good result today. As I'm filming this, it's Friday, the 2nd, and they've just lost to Melbourne, and they are currently in 13th place. I don't see them making the top 8 now. I think my initial prediction is wrong. With the strength of Crows and Power, for example, and even Essendon, how they're doing, and Western Bulldogs, I don't think Carlton are going to make top 8 now. I really, really don't. I see Sydney improving their form. Geelong, whoa, I didn't necessarily predict them in the top 4, but they're still up and down this year. Anyway, into 7th. In 7th, I'm pretty close on this one. I put Western Bulldogs in 7th. They're a team that's pretty good. They're slightly above average. There's certainly teams below them that they're better than. And actually, they're currently in 6th. So my prediction of them being in 7th, I'm pretty accurate. I'm really happy with that one. I'm really, really happy with that one, actually. In 6th, I did Melbourne. I know Melbourne will be there or thereabouts, won't they? They really, really will. Now, this table may change at the end of this weekend, but Melbourne are currently in 3rd. And I've got no issues with that. If, for example, look, if you took out Sydney, who aren't doing great, Fremantle, who are only just also finding form, then that table shifts slightly, doesn't it? And they were 2 bold predictions I made anyway. But D's, they're a team that's going to be there. They are a team that will make the top 8. I've got no doubt of that. They are a quality team. They've got the best ruckman in the league. They've got solid attack, solid defence. And maybe I should predict them higher. And I think I probably should have, but that's where we are. Geelong, I predicted Geelong to finish in 5th, and it is a mess. Geelong were awful. They were awful at the start of the season, lost their first 3. They then picked up some form, done quite well. They dominated, they destroyed teams. And now it's gone back downhill, and they pushed up, and now they're going back. They're currently sitting in 10th, so in 5 positions out. I still believe they can get in the top 8. They can get in the top 8, but it's odd. It is really, really odd. And the funny thing is, I didn't think they would finish as well as they did last season. And a lot of people were like, oh, you're just following the crowd saying about their age and all that. And I'm like, well, they had a lot of players retiring, leaving, etc. And I looked who was in, who was out, and they didn't really bolster their team. And their team looks weaker. And clearly that's showing. That's clearly showing. So I am taking, although I predicted them in 5th and they're actually in 10th, I'm taking it as a bit of a success for me because I didn't think they'd finish as well. Next up, in 4th is Brisbane. And in 4th, in actual league table, is Brisbane. Another team that's going to be there or thereabouts. They finished strong last year. They did a really, really good job, and they will make the top 8 easy. And I think 4th is about the right position for them. They haven't been the best team. They've lost some games that they possibly shouldn't. a lot of people predicted, for example, Brisbane to beat Crows. They didn't. I backed the Crows, and I'm just using that to rub it in if you went for Brisbane. So they haven't necessarily got as much consistency as the certain teams at the top. In third, now, they're actually doing better than obviously I thought, and that's partly because I put Swans and Fremantle in 1 and 2. Collingwood, I said they will do well. They will do well. Look, the game that I was at, that prelim final that I was at between Swans and Collingwood could have happily won that if they just got the right result at the end of the game, and they could have been in the grand final last year, but we held on. Collingwood have been pretty awesome. Their form has been fantastic, and they deserve to be at the top. And if we're looking at the end of the season and the form continues, then Collingwood will be a deserved team to win the Premiership. I know there's the whole thing of, it's more exciting to have the prelims and all this and the finals, and I get it. But if we're simply talking about how a team performs over the 22 weeks, Collingwood at the moment, halfway through, will be the deserved team to win. In second, I did Fremantle. They actually really did well at the end of last season. I thought they could possibly continue that. They then started this year awful. Their attack was shocking. Awful, their attack especially, and that's what was letting them down. However, they have started pulling their socks up, and they're clearly not going to finish in second. They are not going to finish in second because there are stronger teams. But I still would back, at this point in time, I would still back the Dockers to finish in the top 8 for sure, because I don't see Essendon finishing there. Western Bulldogs, I don't know, but I would back Fremantle to finish in the top 8. So yes, I was off. And actually, if they this is a stupid comment to make, but if they didn't have such a poor start, then maybe it would have been a bit closer. That is a stupid comment to make, obviously. And then in first place, I predicted the mighty Swans, and wow, it's been up and down. We went on a real bad losing run, and we went whoosh down the table, and that was painful. We've gone 2 wins back to back. Whether some people think it was lucky or not, I don't care. A win is a win, and hopefully we're going to get back up to the table. We just need to make the top 8. That's the most important thing, and that is the thing about this league system, is that you just have to do enough. You know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Look, it doesn't matter if you finish top of the table. It really doesn't, because no one remembers it. People only remember you winning the grand final. So you just have to get there. That's the main thing. You just have to get there. And I thoroughly believe Hickey's back. And I never thought I would have said this last season, because I don't think Hickey's amazing. But oh my God, we missed Hickey. We missed him. And he's back, and we've started winning. So hopefully we'll get back up. So there we are. We're halfway through. I want to know from you in the comments, are there any teams that have massively shocked you? For example, are Port Adelaide really shocking you and how well they're doing? Is there teams that are lower down, like Richmond? Lots of people thought Richmond would do well. Are there teams like that you are really shocked by? Please do let me know. How do you think I'm doing? For someone that is only, 2.5 years into this sport, I would like to think my knowledge is pretty good. Now, obviously, I'm not going to know all of the ins and outs because I'm not in the environment, and it's not easy being over here, being in that environment. So how do you think I'm doing? Please do let me know in the comments. If you're enjoying the series of the tipping, let me know as well. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'm really sorry I haven't been doing as many live watch-alongs because it's just been so busy. It's been so busy over here. But thank you for supporting me. Honestly, it means the world. Make sure you join me for my next watch-along, whenever that will be. And I will catch you next time.